Hello everybody, this is B Cash coming at you from B Cash Gaming with my first Division 2 video. Thank you for joining me. I will be talking about the Division 2 gear set, including some of the brands that we've seen previously to Tier 5 for the Division 2. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is that I've seen YouTubers and people on Twitter and the Reddit talking specifically about the gear sets and some of the brands as well, and the ones that are more optimized or meant for utility builds. Now, I want to address utility builds specifically in group play. Now, I feel like people are missing the point of having multiple sets in the Division 2. I feel like most of this is stemming from the Division 1 veterans who were expecting gear sets to function very similarly to the Division 2's predecessor. I think people who make that argument or make that statement and who are outraged about how the new gear sets are working with the new Tier 5 system, I think they're missing the point, just to be frank. I feel like this new system is primarily meant to diversify the gameplay in which team and groups play in. For instance, while solo players probably won't benefit much from the gear sets, I feel like if you're running four-man groups, having one player with one of the gear sets, such as True Patriot, can truly benefit the party. Now, that's not to say in every situation or instance that this could occur or is relevant. I specifically mean for instance, challenging mode. The difficult content that's coming up. That could be the raid, for instance. I actually feel the raid is going to be the major point in which that contention will die down, because you will see players really optimizing around the gear sets and making them work to the point that they are almost crucial in every situation in the raid. Now, obviously, I can't speak too heavily on that because we barely know anything about the raid at this point, but I feel like we're jumping the gun here with the outrage for these gear sets. We're trying to illustrate with a picture that we're only seeing half of, and that's the fundamental problem with the outrage towards the gear sets. So obviously, if you're playing on your own in the dark zone, such as some of these clips that I have for you here, you're probably not going to run around the gear set, because you'll be running into other players who are probably doing the SMG crit build, and you're not going to want to encounter them without full PvP optimization. But even when you're clearing landmarks, you'll probably want those talents such as the extra damage to the elites to be able to clear them as fast as possible. So no, you probably don't want to use it in the dark zone, but I do see it being a benefit in not just the raid, but the content that's going to be rotating. For instance, the invaded missions, strongholds. Once you get into the heroic tiered missions, and it requires more coordination amongst the gear and target selection on those priorities. A lot of different tactical features and elements that come into the game mechanics will really start to emerge once you start pushing the game and the gear to your limits. So that's how I feel about it ultimately, is that we're jumping the gun as far as what this truly means. This also applies to skill builds. So now, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I think that skill builds that truly has a place in quote-unquote meta in the Division 2 at the moment. Specifically speaking of skill builds that are oriented to not necessarily be one-trick ponies, but to have specialized abilities or tactics. My clan leader, I should say, he actually started doing a build that I was really a fan of, and that's a roly-poly-oly build, as he'd call it. And that was really just taking the seeker mines or the seeker drones and just pushing them to their very limit based on the skills that he would find. So this includes the modifications, the actual gear that he would have on, talents, everything. And so what ended up happening was he had immense utility in our group, in which he would constantly have seeker drones available, and those seeker drones would not only stop enemies dead in their tracks, especially those pesky rushers, in the game. But, sometimes they'll actually put like a bleed on them or a status effect, and so we'll be doing more damage. So he's been playing around with that a lot, and I've just found that build has so much group utility. No, he's probably not pumping out as much damage as he possibly can, min-maxing his DPS. But I feel like that adds more leeway to those people in the group who prioritize DPS to do even more, to really stretch their own capabilities because somebody in the party has crowd control. This can apply to healing as well. So actually, if you are looking to be a dedicated healer in the game, I feel like there is a place for you with skill builds. So I'd say if you are going healing, you might as well go skill build in general. That way that you're using the same skill pool and pumping those numbers up to get the most out of your numbers. I believe another YouTuber, Marco Styles, he's very, very popular in the Division community. He had posted a tweet today regarding his healer build, and he actually could not die. I watched this tweet. He did not die at all. So the fact of the matter is that stacking heals or stacking skill builds and pushing the game to their limits, yes, they can cause the attention of the developers, and something may be unintentional and the developer may change it. That is not any one person in the community's fault. That is going to be an inevitable change that will occur regardless of if a YouTuber says anything about it. So I just wanted to clear that up. But regarding his build, I feel like that has a place in the community, whether it's broken or not. I feel like being a dedicated healer, also providing utility for the party, can be just as beneficial as pumping out damage numbers, especially when you consider that enemy variety is definitely top notch at the moment, I would say. So, enemies, you have your rushers, you have your snipers, you have your heavies, you have so many different kinds of enemies that you're actually going to want a diverse build to be able to counter a lot of the tactics and maneuvers that they make. And the more utility you have, the more equipped you are in these encounters. And this not only applies to the new gear sets that are introduced with the new update. This also applies to the brand sets as well. So I feel like too much of any good thing is bad. So that would be either the gear or the brand sets. Within a party or a team composition, I do believe that you'll want to put as much as you can into group utility and what there is on the table. So the main reason, or the ultimate point I want to get at here, and I know a lot of this can just seem like rambling, so forgive me, but I do have a coherent point, and that is the outrage needs to stop. So it's okay to have concerns about the health of the game. The community can they can definitely express that to developers, and definitely your concerns are certainly valid. So I don't want to invalidate any person's opinion in that regard, but I do want to say anything that's overly excited about something or saying this absolutely sucks and needs to be nerfed, I don't think that's healthy for the long-term community and the health of the game. And I feel like it causes this toxicity that doesn't have a place in a game that's supposed to be a service that's going to last years here. So I would be careful with how we are labeling these things and saying, oh, these suck, and these aren't viable, when they haven't even been out for, just a week. There's not much you can do to really stretch out their capabilities when they've only been out for a week. And we haven't even seen the raid yet. We don't even know, what the raid is going to look like. So please, just divert from the overreactions, because I don't think that's going to be a healthy look as far as the content that we'll have and the mixed variety of content that we can have in the future. And specifically in regards to group content. I understand solo players, you may feel a little bit left out right now because of the gear sets weren't really meant for you. I do believe that there is something in the pipeline that will be coming specifically to address this. So solo players, I would just hang tight. You know, we're still pretty early in the game's life cycle. But as far as a group play, and I mostly do group play with my clan, this is amazing news in that we're seeing gear sets that are situational. We're seeing gear that you don't, that there's no one size fits all. And that was my main concern with the first game, was because, I mean, you really could. I mean, I was rocking the D3 set for God knows how long. And that was because it could just work in almost every situation. And some people enjoy that. Me personally, I like build diversity. I like having loadouts for a reason, because I want to be able to swap to things that are just better in certain situations than my standard build. So I encourage this. Let me know what you think in the comments. You know, if you like the content that you're seeing now, I'm planning to do some regular content on The Division 2 as well as Final Fantasy 14, because that's also my jam. Thank you for watching. If you can hit that like and subscribe button, I'd appreciate it. If there's any comments or feedback you have on it, please just let me know. Otherwise, you take care, and I will be seeing you again soon.